Hi everybody, welcome back. This is part 3 of chapter 7, class 9 CBSE from the NCERT book. I hope you have seen part 1 and part 2 before you come to this video because especially part 1 is extremely important for you to see. Part 2 is also important, although this is not connected. This is about animal classification and part 2 is plant classification. But if you see part 2 before you see this, you will get an idea of how things are characterized and how things are classified, so it is easier for you to understand this video. So I hope you have seen part 1 and part 2 before you come to this. Please keep your books open. As I keep saying every single time, you have to keep your books open so that you can cross reference with whatever is going on in the video. It is important that you keep taking notes, keep making explanations in the book where you can, and if you don't understand anything, you'll be able to like make a question mark or mark it and see what you have not understood and what you need to see again. So I think it's important that you keep your book open. If you don't have a book, keep an e-book open. It is available on the NCERT website. So do that and ensure that you have that open before you see this video. So let's proceed. This is what we have learned in the past two parts. So we have seen about classification, which helps in exploring the diversity of life form. By classifying them, by dividing them into groups, it is easier to understand all the life forms. Otherwise there is so much diversity that if you keep looking at each of these separately, it is not possible. We have seen that Robert Whittaker in 1969, he divided the organisms into 5 major groups: prokaryotes, eukaryotes, but divided into 5 major kingdoms, and he used these 3 things as the criteria: prokaryotes or eukaryotic, uni or multicellular, and cell wall present or absent. Okay, and on the above basis, these were divided into these 5 classes. We have already studied Monera, Protista, Fungi, and Plantae, and here we are going to be doing Animalia. Okay, in Plantae we have studied that plants are divided into 5 further groups. Please remember that phyta here refers to plants. So anything that has phyta has is in reference to plants. Okay, so you will not confuse these with whatever we are going to be learning now. Anything that has phyta is related to plants. So plants are divided into thallophyta, bryophyta, pteridophyta, which are cryptogams. It also into gymnosperms and angiosperms, which are phanerogams. Okay, I hope you know the meaning of these words. If you don't, please watch part 2 again. Angiosperms are further divided into monocotyledons and dicotyledons, or monocots and dicots for short. Okay, so we come to Animalia. Now, according to Whittaker, Animalia is one of the 5 kingdoms, and all the organisms in the kingdom Animalia are eukaryotic. All of them are eukaryotic, all of them are multicellular, and all of them are heterotrophic. This is the major difference between Animalia and Plantae, that Plantae is all autotrophic. They photosynthesize and they make their own food, right? They use sun and they use carbon dioxide to make their own food. Animals can't do that. So animals are what is called heterotrophs. They are dependent on other sources for their food. So also cell wall is absent. Cell wall is present in both kingdom Fungi and kingdom Plantae, but in kingdom Fungi the cell wall is made up of a complex sugar called chitin, whereas in kingdom Plantae it is made up of cellulose. Okay, there are other differences of course, and most animals are mobile. Okay, motile and mobile, there are 2 words which mean approximately the same thing, which means that they are able to move. Okay, there are these further subdivisions in Animalia. These are called phyla. Okay, phylum is one. We have learned in the first video that it is kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species, right? So phylum is for animals, division is for plants, right? So kingdom Animalia is divided into subdivisions called phyla. Okay, phyla is plural. This is plural. But if it's only one, for example, Porifera is a phylum, but all of these here will be phyla. Okay, so the subdivisions are, the phyla are Porifera, Coelenterata. Okay, please remember this is called Coelenterata or Cnidaria. Here it is also called Cnidaria, but C is silent here. So it is not Cnidaria, it is Cnidaria. Okay, Porifera, Coelenterata, Platyhelminthes, Aschelminthes or Nematoda. In your book it is given Nematoda, but in a lot of places it is also given Aschelminthes. Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca, Echinodermata, Protochordata. This should be proto, and vertebrata. I'll come to this part later in the last slide. I would like to explain what this means here. Okay, so these are the phyla that you're going to be studying, which are under kingdom Animalia: Porifera, Coelenterata, Platyhelminthes, Aschelminthes, Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca, Echinodermata, Protochordata, and vertebrata. We will see each of these in detail, and vertebrata is again divided into 6 different classes, which we will see in the next video. Okay, so coming to Porifera, Porifera are the simplest animals. Porifera are the simplest animals. They have these are organisms that have holes or pores all over the body, which is why it is called Porifera. It refers to the pores that are found all over the body. The body structure is very simple. It is non-motile. It cannot move. Non-motile. Mobile and motile mean approximately the same thing, which means movement. Porifera is non-motile. It remains attached to some solid support, especially rocks or some sort of a substrate like that. It's called a substrate. These have a canal system within their body which helps to circulate water throughout body to bring food and oxygen. Since they are non-motile or not mobile, right, they cannot move, they have to get food somehow. So what will they do? They cannot photosynthesize like plants, right? They don't have any chlorophyll, they don't have any there's a reason they're in kingdom Animalia, right? So what they do is, they are very simple animals. There is a canal system. Using these pores that are found all over the body, there is a canal here which allows for movement of water to and fro the body, which brings in food and oxygen, right? There is a hard outer layer or skeleton. Okay, the outer layer, or it is not the skeleton like we have, right? It is not as differentiated. The body is not differentiated into different tissues or into different organs, right? There is no tissue or organ differentiation in Porifera. These are the simplest organisms. They have only 2 layers. They are called diploblastic. Okay, right? So there is body design is minimal. There's minimal differentiation and division. Okay, division into tissues is also absolutely minimal. Okay, and they're commonly called sponges. They are diploblastic. They have 2 layers. They are radially symmetrical. What is radially symmetrical? Symmetry, you mean, symmetry means when something is exactly like the other, it is called a symmetric. For example, your hands, right? If you keep them like this, there is a mirror image, right? So there is a symmetry. There is a symmetry to your face also. If you draw a line across your face like this, your 2 parts will be approximately the same, which means they are symmetrical. Okay, radially symmetrical means if you have like a ball or a sphere, right? If you have a ball in your hand, you can cut it across any plane. You can cut it like this, you can cut it like this, you can cut it like this, but it will look, the 2 halves will look exactly the same. The 2 halves will look exactly the same. That is why it is called radially symmetrical, right? These are the sponges that are given in your book. These are some examples. For example, this is Plectilla, this is Cycon, and this is Spongilla. This is what a sponge generally looks like um, in nature. So this is a sponge body. This is the canal, okay, osculum or canal, right? This is where it goes, the water goes in from, and there are pores all over the body which allows the movement of water, and water which allows food and oxygen inside the animal. Okay, this is Cycon, right? This is Cycon. This is Cycon. This is Euplectella, as is given here, Euplectella, and this is Spongilla. So you see that there is also already variation in even these simplest animals. There is a lot of variation. They look very different. There are of course certain differences in all of them, but approximately the same. They all cannot move, they all have pores all over their body, they all have a hard outer layer, and they all are non-motile and have a canal system, right? And they're all radially symmetrical. You can cut this from any part like this, it will look the same. Okay, that is why they're called radially symmetrical. Then comes the next one, Coelenterata or Cnidaria. This is not it is not Coelenterata, it is Coelenterata or Cnidaria. These are also aquatic, right? You remember that classification is related to evolution. So life first formed in water. So all of these lower forms are in, or these simpler or older forms are found in aquatic environments. Okay. Coelentrates show more body differentiation as compared to porifera. They are also radially symmetrical. They also have a cavity on the body. Their cavity is slightly different as compared to porifera. Their body is also made up of two cell layers. There is one inner layer and there is one outer, that is called diploblastic. Blast here refers to cell. We have seen this in the chapter of tissues, chapter 6, where you had osteoblast and stuff. I explained some stuff like that. So in that case, blast refers to cell, diplo means double. So two cell layer membrane, one is the inner lining, the other is the outer lining. Okay, some live in colonies which are called corals. I'm sure you've heard of coral reefs, right? Coral reefs suna hai. During because of this global warming, there's a lot of heating of the environment, heating of the water, and that is causing problems to the coral reefs. And there are a lot of other animals that are in some or the other way attached to coral reefs, that are dependent on coral reefs. So that makes a big difference if those corals are somehow affected. So some live in colonies. Coelentrates. Okay, these animals are called coelentrates or cnidarians, but one of these two. They're called coelentrates. They live either in colonies like corals or are solitary, called hydra. For example, jellyfish or sea anemone. I'm sure you know about jellyfish. I'm sure you know about sea anemone. Jellyfish, I'm sure you have heard of jellyfish. This is something called hydra. It is given in your book. This is hydra. Um, if you remember in the first part of this chapter, we have talked about Saccharomyces, which is a yeast, which is a fungus. And that diagram also had something like this, and they had this buds coming out. That is called budding. That is how they reproduce. So Hydra also reproduces by budding. You see these are the young ones of the Hydra. This is the main animal, and these are the young ones. Okay, and they also have a cavity, but the cavity is different as compared to the poriferans, because these are gastrovascular. So there is a certain function to that cavity. It is not just like the poriferans that allows the movement of water. Okay, so you see this is sea anemone. Okay, these are coelentrates. Okay, they don't have any, they have a very simple body structure, which is when there is very little body differentiation, but as compared to poriferans, there are slightly more differentiated, and slightly more tissue formation is there. Okay, then we come to platyhelminthes. Platyhelminthes has a more complex body design as compared to the previous two. Okay, you will see that. Here the body is bilaterally symmetrical. So the left and the right halves of the body have the same design. Humans are also bilaterally symmetrical. All higher animals from platyhelminthes onwards, these animals are bilaterally symmetrical. Bilaterally symmetrical means that if this using this axis of symmetry, then the left and the right half will be the same, will be approximately the same. There are very minor differences, but they look approximately the same. So even if you have make a line through your face, you will see that the left one also has an eye, है ना? The right one also has an eye. Lips half हो जाएंगे, nose half हो जाएगा. So it is bilaterally symmetrical. Even if you look at a tiger, you can, if you make a line through the tiger like this, you will see that these two sides are the same, but the other sides are not the same. There is only one axis of symmetry. There is only one axis of symmetry. For example, if it is like this, sorry, like this, then if you cut, there is like this here and there is like this here. So it is bilaterally symmetrical. Bi to lateral, okay, bilaterally symmetrical, by two halves laterally when you cut it in a lateral way, and it is symmetrical like that, okay. Then there are three cell layers. Until now we had seen that poriferans and coelentrates have two cell layers, okay. So these have three cell layers. They are called triple blastic, okay, this blastic, okay, cells, three different cell layers, and they have differentiated tissue because of that. And because of that, because they are triploblastic, there are more cells and there are more tissue differentiation. Cells come together to form tissues, right? So since there are three cell layers, there are different tissues, and that allows for an outer and inner body lining, and plus there is one more in the middle which allows for organ formation, okay. There is also some degree of tissue formation, differentiated tissue formation, okay. There is no internal cavity or coelom. This is a coelom, okay, which is well developed or organs can be accommodated. So there is no true internal cavity. There is some cavity, but it is not a true cavity or coelom in which organs can be accommodated, okay. So they do not have well developed organs. They are flattened dorsoventrally. What is dorsal and ventral side? The tummy side, when you stand up, the tummy side is the ventral side and your back side is the dorsal side, right? Okay, so here when I talk about symmetry, symmetry is from side to side, dorsal ventral is front and back, okay. Dorsal and ventral is front and back, okay. If you look at a dog, if you have a dog at home, you'll see that the dog sits like this and wants its belly rubbed. So when it is showing its belly, that is the ventral side. And the back side, or the normal side in which four-legged animals, when they move, the surface that you see is the dorsal side, and the stomach side is the ventral side, okay. Dorsal and ventral, okay. They can be either free living or parasitic, okay. So these are flattened, so like they are flat like this. So side by side they are symmetrical, but like this they are flattened. The free living ones are called, for example, planaria, and one of the parasitic ones is liver fluke. These are found in as parasites. What are parasites? Parasites are dependent on living hosts. We saw this when we were talking about fungi. Parasites are dependent on living hosts that take nutrition from living hosts to live on those nutritions. They don't, that is the way they gain their nutrition, since they're heterotrophic, right? So this is a planaria. This is planaria here. It has pharynx, mouth and anus. So you see these are differentiation of tissue, which was not there previously in the previous two ones, in the previous two phyla. There in coelentrates, you do have one opening which acts as both mouth and anus. So there is some basic rudimentary differentiation. Here there is more differentiation. You have a pharynx, you have mouth and anus, and you have the eyes and stuff like that. Okay, so you also have a gastrovascular cavity. So you see some basic differentiation in these. This is planaria. This is a sorry, this is planaria. I'm sorry about that. This is planaria. This is called a liver fluke. This is planaria. This is liver fluke. Planaria is free living. Liver fluke is a parasite. Okay, this is a parasite. This lives freely. It doesn't depend on it depends on other things for food, but it does not depend on a living host कि वहां से attached होके उसे nutrients ले रहा है, वैसे नहीं होता. Okay, and this is a tapeworm. Tapeworm infections are very common in animals, even in human beings. These can grow very long and they attach to the intestines in places, or even in the eye, in weird places, and they come from drinking contaminated water and stuff like that. So this is a microscopic view, and this is how long they are, just really long, and but very flat, absolutely flattened, but they are bilaterally symmetrical. Here you can see it's bilaterally symmetrical. This is the only way it is symmetrical. You can't cut it in any other way and have it be symmetrical, okay. But they are dorsoventrally flattened, so ये जो thickness कम होता है इनका, they're quite चपटा, okay. Then we come to nematode or Aschelminthes. Okay, Aschelminthes is also bilaterally symmetrical. I hope now understand what is meant by bilaterally symmetrical. All animals further ahead are bilaterally symmetrical, and they're also triploblastic. All further ahead are also triploblastic. They're made of 3 cell layers. Okay. The body is cylindrical and not flattened. This is a difference between Platyhelminthes and Aschelminthes, that the body is cylindrical. There are tissues, but there are no actual organs. Okay, there is tissue formation, but there are no organs. There is a primitive body cavity. In Platyhelminthes, you saw that the body cavity is not present. It is uh, not a true body cavity. Here there is a primitive body cavity. Primitive means एकदम basic, एकदम rudimentary, right? So this is pseudocoelom. Pseudo means false. Pseudocoelom. Okay. They are parasitic worms that cause diseases. Okay, for example, the filarial worm that we will see, Wuchereria, causes elephantiasis. I don't know if you have heard of elephantiasis. It is, I don't know how common it is nowadays, but it is caused by mosquito bites. For if you live in such areas where there is a lot of filarial worm infestation in the mosquitoes, you have to be very careful, because they carry those worms, and if they keep biting you over a period of time, these worms can grow inside your body and they cause swelling in lymph nodes. The legs can get really big, and like, they're called elephantiasis because it becomes like the foot of an elephant. They become very big. And you find these worms in the intestines also, which are called roundworms or pinworms. Okay, so these are the examples. This is Ascaris and this is Wuchereria. This is Ascaris. Ascaris has sexual dimorphism in a way that the female is, what is sexual dimorphism? That the female and the male look different. Humans have sexual dimorphism. In this, they have sexual dimorphism that the female is longer than the male. Okay, the female is longer and bigger than the male. And this is Wuchereria. This is Wuchereria, and it causes this. This is elephantiasis. This is what happens if when it infects. These are parasitic. They live inside bodies of animals and human beings. Okay. Then we come to Annelida. Annelida, of course, bilaterally symmetrical. Now you know what it means. They are triploblastic. Again, you know what it means. 3 cell layers. They have a true body cavity, right? Right from Annelida onwards, first ones, Porifera, Coelenterata, and Platyhelminthes did not have any coelom. That is why they are called acoelomates. Nematoda has a pseudocoelom, that is called a pseudocoelomate. Annelida onwards, all the further phyla that we'll see will have a true body cavity that is called a coelom. So they are called coelomates. Hmm? The organs can be packaged in the body because there is a coelom, there is space within the body. There is extensive organ differentiation, right? From rudimentary organ differentiation to Annelida has organ differentiation, which is quite extensive. Okay, so differentiation is in a segmental manner. So what is a segment? Segment is a small part of something. Okay, like this. So they have a segmented manner. They have segments which are attached to one another, and these segments line up one after the other from head to toe. Like this is the head, and this is the toe, as in the tail, and they are all segmented. They have segments. This is Annelida. This is one of the biggest um, characteristics of Annelida. Okay, right from Annelida onwards, they have coelom. Okay, they live in a variety of habitats. They can be freshwater or marine water or live on land. What is freshwater? The salt content is less. Marine water is like oceans, which has a lot of salt content. And they also live on land. For example, earthworms and leeches. I'm sure you have seen earthworms. If you haven't seen earthworms, you should go out more often. Right now, when it's raining, you'll be able to see a lot of earthworms which dig into the ground, and those are very good for fertility of the soil, because they eat that dead things, dead leaves and litter that is found on the soil, and they break those things down into smaller parts, which can then be decomposed by bacteria. That you learn ahead in the soil cycle. But earthworms are very important for soil. So this is Nereis. Here, this is the like a worm. Then you have the earthworm. Okay, this is the earthworm. I'm sure you have seen it. Okay, and then you have leeches. Do you know about leeches? Leeches, if you go to some wet places, or if you go to some tropical rainforest or places like this, you'll have leeches on your body trying to suck blood. Those are parasitic. Hmm? So these are annelids. They have segmented body. You can see these are segments here. ये दिख रहा है? These are segments. Okay. True body cavity. This is the beginning of true body cavity from annelida onwards. Okay. So these are coelomates. Then come arthropoda. Arthropoda is the largest group of animals, and you see arthropods every single day. There is possibly not even one day where you will go that you don't see an arthropod, because I'll tell you why. They're bilaterally symmetrical, of course. One one line of one axis of symmetry, and they're also segmented like annelids, but their segmentation is slightly different. That is a bit complicated to explain, so I'm not explaining that. They have an open circulatory system, so there is no, they do have a circulate. Now you think about it, abhi tak kuch bhi organ nahi tha, now they have a circulatory system. From annelida had complicated organs, and arthropods also have complicated organs, but they have an open circulatory system. Like we have blood vessels, we have arteries and veins. They don't have any of those things. They have an open circulatory system where the blood just flows in their body normally. And the coelom cavity, they have a true coelom. From annelida onwards it is coelomate animals. So coelomate, their cavity is filled with blood, or it is called hemocoelomate. Okay, hemocoelom, because heme. Okay. They have jointed legs. This is the biggest characteristic of arthropoda. You have to remember this when it comes to arthropoda. They have jointed legs because the name itself means jointed feet. Arthropoda, poda here refers to feet or legs. Jointed feet or jointed legs is the basic characteristic distinguishing feature of arthropod. Okay, they have an upper body layer of exoskeleton. Exo means outer, and skeleton, made up of different things, not made up of bones like ours. This is why I say that you see arthropods every single day, because they are insects. All insects are arthropods. For example, flies, mosquitoes, scorpions, even scorpions and crabs and prawns are insects, right? They're arthropods. Okay, this is a prawn. Okay, this is a prawn. This is a spider. This is a scorpion. This is a cockroach. I mean, you have seen cockroaches. You have seen flies. This is a millipede or a centipede. I think this is a centipede. This is a fly. This is a normal house fly. Musca domestica. I am sure you have seen this. I mean, come on, who doesn't have flies around the house if not inside? You have cockroaches, you have butterflies, you have must have seen butterflies. Okay. Anyway, so that was arthropoda. Now we come to mollusca. Okay, mollusca is again bilaterally symmetrical. The coelom cavity is slightly reduced. Okay, they do have a coelom cavity, that is why they are coelomates. They have little segmentation, not a little segmentation, little segmentation. When there is no a here, it means बहुत कम. A little means thoda sa. Little segmentation means ekdam kam. Okay, the English lesson for you. They have an open circulatory system like arthropods. Open circulatory system. They don't have uh, uh, a blood vessels nahi hote hain, and they have kidney like organs for excretion. Okay, so look at how the animals are developing. First, they did not have a circulatory system, right? Annelida started having organs. Arthropoda onwards, they had an open circulatory system, but a circulatory system. Mollusca also has a kidney like organ for excretion. Okay, the foot, there is one foot that is used for moving around, and they generally have a hard shell on the body. Okay, these are mollusca are shell. They have a shell, mostly shellfish are mollusca. Okay, you have examples like chiton. Of course, octopus is also a mollusk, but it doesn't have a shell on the body. Okay, this is a chiton. This is a pila. This is unio. You can see the bilateral symmetry here, right? You can just, this is a I forget what it's called, but it is eaten. All these things are eaten. This is definitely eaten. It is, I forget the name. A mussel. I think it's called a mussel. and this is an octopus, of course. These are all mollusks. Yeah, their coelom cavity is reduced. They have very little segmentation. They have an open circulatory system, and for movement, these move, right? They have only like 1 foot which comes out. Even this, when it has, you can just see the shell, but they also have a soft organism inside which has a foot, and from that foot they kind of push ahead. That is how they move. So they have open circulatory system and kidney like organs. Okay, we only talked about open circulatory system in arthropods. Here they also have kidney like organs. Okay, echinodermata. Okay, echinodermata comes from the Greek word, two Greek words, where echinos means hedgehog. Have you seen hedgehog? Hedgehog is an animal that has these spiky or spiny things on the skin. So hedgehog, and derma means skin. So animals that have a spiny or spiky skin are echinodermata. Okay, they are spiny skinned organisms. They are exclusively free living. They are not parasitic. They live freely. They are not dependent on any other specific organism for their survival, and they're marine, so they live in oceans and places where there is high salt concentration in the water. uh, they are triploblastic, 3 cell layers, and they have a coelom cavity. This has been triploblastic you have seen from platyhelminthes onwards. Coelom cavity you have seen from annelida onwards. Okay, echinodermata is also bilaterally symmetrical. They have a water driven tube system to move around there. They push water from their body to give them some sort of energy, and that's how they move forward. They have a hard calcium carbonate structure as exoskeleton, outer skeleton. Okay, calcium carbonate is, what is the uh, formula of calcium carbonate? We have done this. I hope you remember. Calcium carbonate is CaCO3. CaCO3. For example, sea stars or sea urchins. This is given in your book, right? This is a feather star or antedon, right? This is what it looks like. You would say, इसको देख के आपको लगेगा कि these are really primitive because they don't look like much. But you have to remember that even if they look primitive, they have all these things. They have advanced features. They have triploblastic cells. They have tissues or a body, and they have a coelom cavity, right? And they also have organ differentiation, which is why they are higher up, they are advanced. There is a reason. Okay, this is a sea cucumber, or this is holo holothuria. This is a sea urchin, or echinus. This is basically what the skin of a hedgehog looks like, echinus. And this is asterias or sea star, or you call it a starfish. Starfish is also echinodermata. Okay, I'm sure you have heard about starfish, that if you cut off one arm, then it can grow another starfish from it. That is true. It is called regeneration. Anyway, so this is echinodermata. Then comes protochordata. Here there are two words that are important, and that will also give you the characteristic of the of this specific phylum. The characteristics are in the word itself. So proto means primary or basic. Proto means first, that came first, ekdam primary. Hmm? And chordata, which are chordates. Chord, they have a chord, they have a notochord. We will see what notochord means. Once you understand that, you will be able to know what the word protochordata means. Okay, so they have a chord. Okay, again bilaterally symmetrical, triploblastic, coelomate. Okay, they have a new feature called notochord. What is a notochord? A notochord is like a tube like structure, or a rod like structure which gives support. It is the beginning of skeleton system. Okay, it is a notochord which gives some kind of support to the body. You are also chordate. You have a chord in you, but these are protochordates. They have a primary kind of chordate. This is not as well developed as human beings chord, and it can be at any stage of life, at any at any one stage of life. It is not necessary that they will have a cord throughout their life. It can be when there are just embryos or when they are just forming, and that cord may disappear after a while. They may not, the cord may not remain in their body throughout their life. ऐसे हो सकता है कि it is present only when there are embryos or small, they are not growing when they are growing, but after a while it is possible that they don't have a cord anymore. So but at any one stage of life they have a notochord. Notochord, where chord means string, is a rod like support structure. Okay, it is a rod like support structure which runs along the back of the animal. So it runs along the back, which means dorsal, which runs along the back of the animal and separates the nervous tissue from the gut. Right, it separates the nervous tissue from the gut. Nerves जो होते हैं उसको separate करता है notochord. And it is, gut क्या होता है? Gut is your digestive system, or the components of your digestive system are called the gut. So the notochord is a rod like structure and it separates the nervous tissue from the gut. Okay, and it is a rod like support structure made of, generally made of cartilaginous tissues. So cartilage के बारे में पढ़ा है ना हमने, something like a cartilage or some kind of a bony structure. That is what a notochord is made up of. It provides a place for muscles to attach for ease of movement. Until now, प्रोटोकॉर्डा के पहले इकाइनोडर्मेटा तक, none of the animals had any kind of internal skeleton or internal support for movement or any kind of thing. Okay, they did not have a rod like structure, they did not have any kind of internal skeleton. They just had, for support they would have an exoskeleton, right? This is the beginning of the internal skeleton, where you have a rod like support structure which separates different organ systems from each other, and it also provides a place for movement by providing a place for muscles to attach. Okay, so which means they also have a muscular system. Now protochordates may not have a proper notochord at all stages of life or for the entire length. It is possible that it is only present only when the animal is an embryo and then it disappears, and it is also not necessary that it is found all throughout the animal. It is possible कि वो बस neck के पास थोड़ा सा या head के पास थोड़ा सा है and then it disappears. But the presence of a primary kind of a rudimentary kind of cord at any stage of life, at even at the beginning of life, at any one stage of life, is the basic feature, is a characterizing feature of a protochordate. Okay, these are also marine animals. For example, Belanoglossus, this is given in your book. It's a protochordate. And Herdmania and Amphioxus, this is Belanoglossus. Okay, so you can see here you have a lot of organ formation, right? There's a lot of different organs that you have. Hepatic region, what is hepatic region? It is related to the liver. So it has a lot of different organs, it has a lot of different, it has a lot of tissue differentiation. It doesn't look like it is very differentiated, but the organs are well differentiated. It has a notochord at any one stage. I think Belanoglossus only has a notochord in the early embryonic stages of its life, but it still does. It disappears, but it still does, and that is why it is called a protochordate. This is Herdmania. It doesn't look like much. It, you would say that it looks like the porifera, sponge जैसा दिखता है, but बाहर से दिख के क्या होता है ये नहीं. These things have to be seen from the internal structure of the animal. This is Herdmania. This also has a notochord at one of the stages. This is Amphioxus. It looks a bit like a fish, right? So this part here, it has a dorsal notochord. Okay, this is Amphioxus. So this is the main characterizing feature of protochordata, and here you can see what the word means. Chord is string, so protochordata, primary notochord wale protochordata. Okay. Then you have vertebrata. Okay. Vertebrata, they have a true vertebral column. Now the notochord जो होता है, notochord is the beginning of the internal vertebral column. Those that have a vertebral column where a notochord is it developed into a vertebral column, it is called a vertebrate. Okay, any Protochordates and vertebrata together form chordata. Okay, they have a notochord at any stage of them of their life. It is called a chordate. Okay, vertebrata and protochordata together form chordata. Okay, there are many, since it has an internal skeleton, vertebrata has an internal skeleton. That is why there are many muscle attachment points where the muscles are attached to bone, and that is how they can move properly. Bilaterally symmetrical, again triploblastic coelomic, segmented. Segmentations hai, but segmentation are different from annelida. They have a complex differentiation of body tissues and organisms. When you're thinking of vertebrata, you can think of human beings. There is a complex differentiation of body tissues and organs. All chordatas have the following functions. They have a notochord. I told you about notochord. Notochord is a cartilaginous kind of a flexible rod which gives support to, it separates the gut from the nervous tissue. So all chordates have a notochord at least one of the stages of life. Okay. Then they have a dorsal nerve cord. What is a, it should be CORD. Okay. What is a dorsal nerve cord? A dorsal nerve cord is a unique feature of chordates of vertebrae of chordates, and is mainly found in vertebrata. Vertebrata में ही mainly होता है, and here the dorsal nerve cord is modified into the central nervous system, which comprises the brain and the spinal cord. So dorsal means back, nerve cord nervous tissue, नर्वस टिश्यू से बना हुआ एक रॉड होता है which is found in the back part, that is called a dorsal nerve cord. In vertebrates it is differentiated into a brain and spinal cord. Your notochord is the spinal column, right? You have a spinal column or vertebra. Spinal column is made up of vertebrae, okay, in human beings, and iske andar you have the spinal cord. So this is your dorsal nerve cord, and here this is made up of cartilage or bone, and that is your notochord. You have a spine, right? That is a characteristic of vertebrata. They're again triploblastic. They have paired gill pouches. You don't have gill pouches, but you have nose. You have a respiratory system which is paired, which is two. You have, and they are also coelomates. Coelomates and triploblastic to pehle se hain. And vertebrata are further divided into 6 classes: Cyclostomata, Pisces, Amphibia, Reptilia, Aves, and Mammalia. Okay, these 6 we will see in the next video. नहीं तो ये वीडियो बहुत लंबा हो जाएगा. Okay, so this is, I hope you have understood, true vertebral column, internal skeleton, and a dorsal nerve cord. Okay, these two things are very important for vertebrata. Vertebral column होता है, spinal column होता है, उसके अंदर spinal cord होता है. That is the, those are the basic characteristics of vertebrata. Okay, so there are a few questions that I'm going to answer for you here. How do poriferan animals differ from coelenterate animals? How is phylum Porifera different from animals of phylum Coelenterata or Cnidaria? Okay, so these are the differences. Porifera, of course, has organisms which have holes or pores all over their body, whereas Coelenterata has only one opening for both ingestion and excretion. Ingestion means eating and excretion means to throw out. So Porifera has pores all over their body. Coelenterata has only one opening for both these things. Porifera is non-motile and attached to some solid support, whereas coelenterate can be motile or non-motile. Non-motile things are also called sessile. Okay, they're called sessile, but ठीक है, आपके book में नहीं है, you don't have to remember that word. Then you have canal system, which helps to circulate water through body to bring food and oxygen. This is how poriferans get their nutrition. Okay, here they have many ways to capture food, and the middle cavity is for digestion, the gastrovascular cavity. Please remember that there are certain points that you have to understand what kind of organism it is. Movement, the body differentiation. You can write a few points about body differentiation, and then you can write a point or two about how, where it lives, because that can also be a difference, and then you give an example of each. Okay, so you can, here I've written sponges, but you can also give names of those organisms. For example, we talked about spongilla. So you can write that. So these are the differences. There is no nervous system. This is a rudimentary nervous system. A Coelenterata has a very rudimentary nervous system. It is nothing close to what we have. It is absolutely basic, but it is much better than what poriferans. They have no nervous system. They can't feel anything. Okay, poriferans have a body design which is absolutely minimal differentiation. Coelentrates have more body differentiation, है ना? Poriferans are mostly marine. Here they can be marine and both freshwater and marine. Okay. For example, you have spongilla and here you have jellyfish and sea anemone. You can give these examples. Okay. How do annelid animals differ from arthropods? So phylum Annelida versus phylum Arthropoda. Firstly, Annelida do not have jointed legs but may have parapodia. Parapodia, para means many, podia means, okay, anyway, parapodia are kind of legs, but they are not jointed legs. Arthropoda ka sabse bada characterizing feature is that they have jointed legs, right? So annelids don't have that. Arthropods have jointed legs. Annelids have fully segmented body. Arthropods do not have a fully segmented body. Annelids have a closed circulatory system, whereas arthropods have an open circulatory system. प्लीज ये कंफ्यूज मत करना, हाँ, बिकॉज यू वुड थिंक कि क्लोज सर्कुलेटरी सिस्टम इज अ हायर फंक्शन, इसलिए वो आर्थ्रोपोड्स में होगा. ऐसे नहीं है. एनालिड्स हैव अ क्लोज सर्कुलेटरी सिस्टम whereas arthropods have an open circulatory system. Annelids do not have a chitinous exoskeleton whereas arthropods have a chitinous exoskeleton. chitin से बना होता है. Then you have a coelom cavity that is not filled with blood. Here, arthropods have a coelom cavity because they have an open circulatory system. Their coelom cavity is filled with blood. Okay. Annelids breathe through the skin. Annelida earthworms वगैरह होता है. They breathe through the skin. इसलिए उनकी skin moist होती है to allow proper diffusion of air through here. But arthropods have specialized structures for breathing. They may have some sort of they don't have like a proper lung structure as a nose structure, but they have other structures for breathing which is also found all through the body. But here they breathe directly through the skin. The example again, earthworm and leeches. Arthropods, you can give any kind of example for any kind of insect: bees, butterflies, cockroaches, prawns, mosquitoes, whatever you want. Okay. So again, you have to give the basic characteristic of this. इसमें fully segmented body and इसमें jointed legs. That has also always has to be given in differences, or if you are writing any kind of description, then you give something about the body design and then you give examples. Okay. So what have we learned in this part? We have learned that Animalia is differentiated into 10 different subdivisions or phyla, which is based on the complexity of body structure. Porifera, Coelenterata or Cnidaria, Platyhelminthes, Nematode or Aschelminthes, Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca, Echinodermata, Protochordata and Vertebrata. If you are in class 9 and if you are following the NCERT books, this is exactly how you have to remember. Please remember it exactly like this. ये आपको रटना ही पड़ेगा. You have to remember these this way. You have to remember them in this order only. Order has to be this because these are uh, evolutionarily more advanced in a way. You have to remember them like this. Okay, you should not confuse them कि पहले मोलस्का आता है या बाद में एनलिडा आता है, ऐसे नहीं. Okay, please remember that these are acoelomates. They don't have a coelom. This is a pseudocoelomate and these are coelomates. Oh. Okay, please remember, if you are of a higher class, if you're watching this for revision, or if you are not in class 9, please remember that this is not the way it is. यहाँ पे porifera और coelenterata और cnidaria के बीच में there is something called ctenophora. हाँ, एंड इकाइनोडर्मेटा में प्रोटोकॉर्डेटा, इकाइनोडर्मेटा के बाद आता है हेमिकॉर्डेटा, and these two are part of Chordata. Chordata is a big phylum of Animalia. If you are in class 9, please do not remember this. Please remember only the printed points. Do not remember this. If you are of a higher class, please remember कि ये जो है थोड़ा सा इन्होंने कुछ तो अलग दिया हुआ है. They have this another phylum called Ctenophora between Porifera and Coelenterata, and Protochordata and Vertebrata are actually instead of, after Echinodermata comes Hemichordata, and after Hemichordata comes Chordata, and Chordata ke andar you have Protochordata and Vertebrata. In fact, Balanoglossus, that has been given as an example of Protochordata, is actually a hemichordate. Okay, if you're of a higher class, if you're seeing this for revision, please remember these points. Okay, it is Porifera, Ctenophora, Coelenterata, Platyhelminthes, Aschelminthes, Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca, Echinodermata, Hemichordata and Chordata. And then Chordata ke andar Vertebrata is a big subphylum. Okay, please remember. But if you are in class 9 and if you are seeing this, remember only these 10 of these, and this is what you have to remember. Okay, and this is the way in which this is the order in which you have to remember. There is no other order. Okay, also there is one more thing. You also have something achordata, hemichordata. So all of these until echinodermata are achordata. They don't have any chordate. Or achordata. Achordata, hemichordata is another. Okay, you have not, if you're in class 9 you won't remember this, and these are chordata. These are chordata. Okay, these are groupings. ऐसे basic grouping होता है. There are differences and they इन सबको ऐसे common नाम दिया होता है. Alright, so I hope you have understood this. If you have not, please watch this video again. If you have not understood something, you can write to us and we will explain it to you. You can also comment below. And if you like this video, please like it here on YouTube. Please subscribe and please share it with your friends so that they also can see this. And if you subscribe, you will keep getting notifications when you please press the bell icon so that when we put up a new video, you will be notified of it. Okay. So thank you for now, and I will see you for part 4 where we will talking about the classes of vertebrata. Okay. Okay. Bye.